Welcome to the second episode of the Offtackle Podcast. My name is Austin, aka Odinsbeard43. You can find me on twitch.tv/Odinsbeard43, along with Twitter and Instagram at Odinsbeard43.
What is up, everybody? I am Patrick, aka Raven F. You can find me on twitch.tv at Raven F and on Twitter and Instagram at RavenF0_O.
And I want to start off. Sorry about the delay on the episode. I know we want to get these out on Fridays. We had technical difficulties on Friday to where video and recording wouldn't go and Skype wouldn't go. So we are just getting it in the first chance that we can, schedules permitting. So real quick, I'm going to put a link into... I forgot to mention this. I'm going to put a link into the description. We have a friend, Sean, whose cat is having a really hard time, and they had to bring him to the vet. There was a lot of issues with a blockage in his bladder and his urinary tract, and he got an infection. He started a GoFundMe. He asked me to plug it if that was okay, and he's a really good friend, and I know both of us are huge animal lovers, so I feel like we should put it in. I will put the link into the description for the GoFundMe. He's just looking for money to help with the costs for the vet. His cat is 2 years old and had all these issues already, so, and I know how we are with our animals, with our pets, that they're family. So,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So we're going to start off with our This Week in the NFL. And one of the big stories that broke, and I guess it's kind of helped that we had to wait a few days, because Tom Brady signed a 2-year extension. So we're going to get another 2 years at least of Brady, and I think that's absolutely nuts, just because of his age.
Yeah, I
Really,
mean, he just turned, 42, or is
he
about
is
to turn 42?
just turned 42 2 days ago.
Right. I mean, that's, for the level that he's playing at, albeit he doesn't go down the field very much, so his arm strength doesn't need to be top tier. He's still playing phenomenal football. You can't deny any of that. Tom Brady is a fantastic player, one of the best ever played the game. I don't think he's the GOAT for quarterbacks personally, but nonetheless, yeah. So I'll discuss all that when we get to the AFC East portion and why I feel that way a little bit.
He
But
is.
there is a little bit in his contract that there's a potential that he could be a free agent next year.
I
When they
I
start,
contract, but
do what?
I haven't looked at the contract, but that's actually pretty big.
Yeah, it's he could start the league year next year as a free agent if he doesn't retire by then. So I kind of feel like they did the extension as kind of a respect thing for him, but I honestly, and I felt this way before, I really don't expect him to play past this year. I think him and Bill are both on their way out in New England for various different reasons.
Definitely. I have a hard time seeing him in any other uniform, and I know plenty of other quarterbacks, and this could be a really good topic for us to go in on later on. Plenty of quarterbacks have gone to different teams at the end of their
Hmm.
career. I I hated seeing Peyton in a Broncos uniform. He's always a cult to me. But I mean, it happens. But I feel like that would probably be the weirdest one, just because how long he has been a Patriot. I
Well,
think it's weird.
I
Obviously
mean,
he's 42 years old now.
look at it with Brett Favre as well. Granted, Brett Favre started his career with the Falcons, completed his first pass to himself, and then got traded to the Packers or whatever, and then also played for the Jets and the Vikings. So, but Favre, I mean, retired at what 44, 40, somewhere around there. He played seemingly forever. He was one of the first quarterbacks that I can remember watching, aside from Troy Aikman when I was a kid. So
Yep, that's who I grew up watching. Really, Bears fan in the '90s. That sucked, so we always got to watch the Packers whoop our ass, and Brett Favre was always leading the fucking charge.
At least you knew what heartbreak was at a young age.
Yeah, I know. I'm also a Cubs fan, so that doesn't help.
Heartbreak, disappointment, everything else.
uh, and then Jadeveon Clowney is apparently going to join the team after the third preseason game. He's a game changer. You remember right when he came out, like that first year or two, he just wasn't up to par for how he was touted and all the accolades he had coming out of college. He's an absolute game changer. He's a stud.
He had his moments when he first came out, because I remember watching him. I'm just waiting to see him flourish with him and Watt on opposite sides of the field. I remember Baltimore playing him, and they really struggled to kind of get hands on him at times, because he would just plow right through. Clowney is a physical specimen, just like J.J. Watt, so it was not fun to see. But it was almost like he had games like Randy Moss and some of these other guys where he just took plays off or would take games off. He just would not stay focused. And I don't know what his issue was or why he felt that way. But I will say there's been a lot of rumors that Baltimore is potentially aiming to trade for him to boost that pass rush, especially after losing Suggs, Darius Smith, and some other guys. Now, whether it happens this year, which I highly, highly, highly doubt, but pursuing him after this season, I would be perfectly fine with. I would love to see him in the purple and black.
I mean, look, the last year there was a game-changing pass rusher got traded right before the season started. Look how that turned out for a team that I'm wearing their jersey and hat for. That absolutely instantly just all expectations rose off of that trade. So
probably could have been in the Super Bowl if it wasn't for Cody Parkey.
Yep. We will get into the kicking situation. I'll let you know that. And we'll get into that. I'm going to hold that one. You want to go say that last headline? Running back?
Yeah, Melvin Gordon demanding a trade. So it doesn't seem like things are getting any better for Melvin Gordon and the LA Chargers. I've been like laughing every time I hear somebody say San Diego Chargers. I actually was reading it earlier, and somebody put SD Chargers next to Melvin Gordon. So that kind of made me laugh. So, it happens. But the LA Chargers. So things are not going well with Melvin Gordon and the LA Chargers. So it sounds like he's probably going to be wearing different colors if they manage to trade him. And who was that weird? Oh, the Houston Texans.
Yep.
Right? That we think will be a good spot.
They cut Deontay Foreman, and they have a few veterans, Lamar Miller or Devontae Freeman. Devontae Foreman.
I thought it was Freeman.
Deontay Foreman. He was the running back from Texas. They drafted a couple years ago. He tore his Achilles or his ACL last year.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot. The Colts signed a different former running back, Freeman. So because they had a Foreman and a Freeman, so that's what's throwing me off. My apologies. I'm sorry.
But there a lot of rumors are pegging that as a possible landing spot for Melvin Gordon, and putting him in an offense with Deshaun Watson and DeAndre Hopkins and Will Fuller. Like, obviously, we'll get into the AFC South next week.
Sorry, I just pulled up the article. So from around the NFL, it does say former Texans running back Freeman claimed by Colts, and then you click on the article, and it says former Houston Texans running back Deontay Foreman is getting another chance to contribute after being claimed off waivers by the Indianapolis Colts. So they did mess up on the headline of the article. So that's why I was like, wait, when did they ever have a Foreman and a Freeman? But hey, it's been one of them weeks. I apologize. I worked a crazy amount of hours last week, and I'm still freaking exhausted by it. So if you want to say I'm an idiot, go for it. We need to start a segment where people can comment or write in or something like that. Hey, fucked hard. Hey, idiot. Whatever you want to, No
racism, homophobia, anything like that in it, though.
Right. You're a moron. You're an idiot. Yeah, something like that, but yeah.
But I actually liked Foreman. I remember his rookie year, he contributed until he got hurt, and that's a good pickup for the Colts. We'll get into the South, but I am a big fan of Marlon Mack, so that's all where I'm going to leave it at. But I think Melvin Gordon, if he actually ended up on the Texans, that could help that team out quite a bit if he can stay healthy.
He could definitely make them instant contenders, like serious instant contenders. Uh, I mean, the quarterback situation, wide receivers are pretty solid. The defense is, pretty damn good. I wouldn't say they're top tier by any means, but if they manage to get Gordon, that would just up their game to the next step, the next level, exponentially increase their chances, I think, of really making a push to the playoffs.
Oh, for sure. And of course, my laptop's going to freeze when I go to start the next segment. I don't need the computer for this one though. All right. So we mentioned last week. This week's going to be a lot more structured. We're going to do NFC and AFC North breakdowns. So I am obviously a Bears fan. I'm taking the NFC teams. Pat is going to be taking the AFC teams, and that's going to be all through the entire conference when we each hit each division. So we're going to start with the NFC North. I'm going to start with the Kings of the North. That's what they were dubbed last year. Not my saying. They were fucking doing Game of Thrones shit all year last year on TV with the Kings of the North. So the Bears, obviously, the defense is going to be the defense. Like, they were the top defense last year. They have two changes. One is Clinton Dix is now the strong safety with Adrian Amos moving to the Packers. And the nickel corner, Callahan left, and now they have Buster Screen, who I've always been a fan of since he was a fucking Brown. I think he's a great nickelback. That being said, they did draft a kid out of Kansas State, Duke Shelley, and watching his highlights, he's perfect for nickel, for one. He's a little bit on the short side, but that's not a problem in that nickel spot. Great ability, great movement, great agility, can close on the ball, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him getting some snaps. He's going to get some snaps in preseason. But everything I hear, it all comes down to if Trubisky takes that next step. Now, we're not talking. Don't put in the fucking comment section, people. I'm not talking about the fucking draft pick anymore. That's in the past now. They're trading up for Trubisky's in the past. He's here. He's our quarterback. I was a fan of him before. That year, I liked Mahomes as a ready-to-go player. I feel like Trubisky had better potential. Last year, Mahomes skyrocketed, obviously. Mahomes was Mahomes. And Trubisky was steady. He was a solid quarterback last year. In these RPO offenses, it usually is that second year. It was the second year for Carson Wentz when he took off. It's that second year that these quarterbacks just clicks and they take off. They're talking on 670 The Score, Chicago radio, that we pick up here, and they were talking. I can't remember who it was, but there was some reporters or some analysts that they do it every year. Who's going to be the breakout player? Last year they picked Mahomes. This year they're picking Trubisky. Trubisky is weirdly, to me, I think it's because of the money people are throwing at him on the betting line, but he's one of the favorites for the MVP. And I think that's, yes, not like, he's like, I think it's like 10-1 or 5-1 or something, right between 5 and 10. if I remember correctly. I like him a lot. I think he's going to take that step. He doesn't need to, though. You have the best defense behind you, barring injury. Everything we talked about is going to be barring injury. I feel like he has great weapons. He just has to get the ball to the person. That's all he has to do. Let fucking Tariq Cohen take off. Let David Montgomery, our rookie running back out of Iowa State, take off. There's people saying he's the next Kareem Hunt without the domestics. There's everything out of training camp is Allen Robinson is looking fantastic. You got Anthony Miller finally had his shoulder surgery, so he doesn't have to worry about that popping out every play. You got Taylor Gabriel, who is just fucking fast. That's all you have to say about Taylor Gabriel. He is not going to have to be the one that takes those jet sweeps, though, this year, because they did pick up Cordero Patterson. This is where it gets interesting. This is the deepest I've ever fucking seen the wide receiver core for the Bears. Because then you have Javon Wims, who was actually a 7th-round pick in last year's draft, forced their hand and made them keep him on the roster instead of just trying to let him go through waivers and pick him up on the practice squad because he had such a great preseason. They did draft Riley Ridley out of Georgia. So those are the two Georgia receivers. Riley Ridley, obviously, he's the brother of Atlanta star Calvin Ridley, and one of those two are going to have to show they can play on special teams, or else I think Javon is probably going to get cut if he can't play special teams. You got tight end Trey Burton, Adam Shaheen. This is a big year for him if he can stay healthy. He was looking good last year before he got hurt again. But after that, that's probably the lightest position on the offensive side. The offensive line is coming back in full. The only switch is Whitehair switch from center to left guard with James Daniels. Get away, Dobby. Don't start licking yourself there. Get. Yeah.
Never fails. Never fails.
I'm on top of this shit now. Thank you, Bumpy. But Kyle Long's health obviously is a big deal too. They have decent depth. The only one that's swing tackle position, backup swing tackle would be what I'd be worried about. Defensively, it's the same defense other than what I mentioned earlier with HaHa and Buster Screen along with Duke Shelley. Apparently Kevin Tolliver, who was an undrafted rookie last year and actually played some really good minutes or good time for us last year when Mukamara got hurt. Apparently he worked really hard in the offseason and has been looking extremely well in preseason. This is going to be, obviously, you have Khalil Mack. You spent a bunch of money on Kyle Fuller. You have Akeem Hicks. Those are going to be the 3 stars. Roquan Smith and Leonard Floyd are going to make that defense go, though. Roquan Smith led the team in tackles after pretty much not playing the first game and barely playing the second because he held out with the rookie contract situation. And Leonard Floyd, after he got that stupid fucking cast off his hand, just took off. I mentioned it. The kicking situation. I'm not 100% sold that the kicker for the 2019 Chicago Bears is on the roster right now.
I agree with you there. I really do.
That being said, they have Eddie Pinheiro, who they traded a 7th-round pick to the Raiders for, and Elliott Fry. Everything I've read and heard is that Fry is a lot more consistent. He just doesn't have that power. Pinheiro hit a fucking 63-yarder the other day at practice. And he has been consistently about 7 out of 8. And one of the 8 were one of the ridiculously, like a 58-yard field goal or something. So that's one that you might not go for in a actual game anyway, depending on time and the situation. I wouldn't be surprised if no one really gets cut, no veteran kicker that has a very good background and good, everyone just knows he's a good, solid kicker. If none of them get cut, I think Piñeiro's the kicker. I think you can't really, when it comes to that power, you could deal with him missing a 58 to 63 yard field goal every now and then if you decide to go for it. Mm-hmm. I think he's a solid kicker. He was one of the Raiders, they didn't want to let him go last year, and then we actually had a trade for him this year. That being said, who knows? We might trade for a fucking another kicker. Who knows? Because this is obviously the biggest thing this season is going to be the kicking situation. That's the biggest headline. Everybody's talking about it on the radio. Every story has kicking update and all this shit after the shit show that happened in the playoffs and all season last year. Now, I'm going to go with who had the worst team last season, record-wise at least, is Detroit. They still have Matt Stafford, and Matt Stafford still can put up huge fucking numbers. They have Kerryon Johnson, who was a rookie last year and is on my fantasy team, and is an absolute stud when healthy. They brought in C.J. Anderson, who everyone knows what he did for the Rams last year. How do you feel about Kenny Galladay, the receiver out of NIU?
Not sold. He's not going to be their answer. I think he could get 80 to 90 receptions. I think he could hit about 1,000 yards, but I don't see him as being that playmaker that they are in so desperate need for. Not a knock against him by any means. I just really, I just really feel like he's gonna be a viable addition. You know, he's gonna definitely contribute and everything, but he's not what they need. I mean, he's not gonna be like Johnson, of course.
No, it's like Calvin Johnson, though.
No, exactly. You know, so I mean, that's that's a given. You know, oh man, I just feel like they need more. I know they added Danny Amendola. So you know, Amendola is going to be that slot guy. He's going to be running those little drags, crossing routes, post flags, stuff to squeeze behind people. Now, what Galladay could contribute is that sure-handed necessity that they really need.
He's that jump ball guy. I feel that's what he is. He's a jump ball guy. He's a red zone threat. I think he's a solid number one. He's not I don't think he's a game changer.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah, he's not going to reach the level of like Atlanta. I feel has two game changers, honestly, with Calvin Ridley and Julio. Right. He's not reaching that level. Not the AJ Green or the Amari Cooper of the Cowboys last year. He's a very solid number one. I think he's a top end number two. I feel like they still could use another receiver, but they have him. They have Marvin Jones, who has proven time and again that he's a good number two receiver. You mentioned they brought in Amendola. They also brought in Jermaine Kearse.
Yeah.
That's a pretty damn good four receivers right there.
It is. Even with Amendola's injury history, you know, he hasn't been able to really stay healthy for a long time. I think Kearse is a very underrated addition for them, in my opinion. I don't hear very many people talk about him, but he's always been one of those guys that he shows up, he balls. He's not that guy to steal the show. He's not that guy to blow you away, but he's that guy that'll be there when you need him, and that's exactly what the Lions need. They don't necessarily need that Calvin Johnson guy that's going to be flashy, that's going to go do everything that they absolutely possibly need to, plus some. You know, he's that guy that's going to be reliable. He's going to be there. I think he should be able to stay relatively healthy. So yeah, I do think overall they'll be okay. And I did look up Galladay's stats, and looks like he had over 1,000 yards last year.
He did. He
So
was popping off last year, but they didn't have anybody else after they traded Golden because Marvin was, I believe.
Right, and I mean he had he averaged 15 yards per reception, which is fantastic. That's exactly what they need. Honestly, I feel like out of anybody in the league previously, the guy I would probably compare him to the most for me, and I may get some hate for this or whatever, was probably going to be Anquan Bolden.
I was thinking Anquan Bolden or possibly Jeremy Maclin, where he's sure-handed. He can make big plays. He's a bigger Maclin, obviously.
And that's why I compare him to Bolden a bit, because he has that similar frame, that similar style. I think he's a little bit smaller than Bolden overall. I think Bolden played a little bit bigger than he is. I could be wrong. I don't know. Like, not necessarily height-wise, but like just overall stature.
I like that. I like that though. That comparison with him. I think he could be a number one. I think he has to show out this year. I think he has the ability to.
Oh yeah.
That he, especially on that and that off with that quarterback in that offense, he could put up some huge numbers. If they win, solely depends on the defense, which I'll get to here in a second. I did want to mention they did get T.J. Hawkinson as a tight end, and they brought in Jesse James from Pittsburgh, who those are some big fucking tight ends. And linebackers like Trevathan Roquan, Blake Martinez, whoever the fuck's, I'll look it up here in a second, in the middle for the Vikings now. Those are some big fucking receivers to be, or tight ends to be covering downfield. So I feel like Detroit's going to score points. The defense needs to step up, and most of their acquisitions happen on that defensive side of the ball. They brought in.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say they needed. Trying to find what I had exactly for the standings here. Oh, here they are. For defense, they were. I mean, they were 10th for total defense, so it's not bad. But to make up for their lack of offense, like showing out.
Yeah,
I feel like for them to really be contenders, they need to be in that like top 6-7 spot.
Definitely. They did bring in Trey Flowers from New England. Last year they brought in Damon Harrison, who I like him a lot. I was really surprised when they were able to trade for him. They also brought in Mike Daniels this year from Green Bay, who was a surprise cut. I think that was more of a cap thing. Linebackers is where it kind of gets iffy for me. They have Jelani Tavai, Jared Davis, and Devon Kennard. Kennard played really well last year. Davis plays well. I'm afraid he's the next Vontaze Burfict.
Hey.
I rewatched the Bears-Lions game from the end of the year last year, and literally you could tell he didn't give a fuck because they were out of it anyway. So he was going around taking cheap shots, trying to cause fights and shit, and I'm just like, there's playing hard and there's playing dirty, and I feel like he was on that border.
Yeah,
and I'm not saying he is gonna be Vontaze. Vontaze is a fucking
POS.
I'll say it. He's a piece of shit. Yeah, I'll say it.
Yeah.
That the hits that he did, he should have been fucking kicked out of the league.
I agree. And it sucks because he has so much talent too.
Oh God, yes.
He is such a phenomenal athlete and a phenomenal football player. Like, he has the intangibles to do it. Watching him fly around the field reminded me of Patrick Willis getting around, making some plays, Ray Lewis, Lawrence Taylor. Like, some of these other guys that have been around the league that are household names, but Vontez has become a household name for the wrong reasons. And it really pains me because watching him play for so long, like in the AFC North against Baltimore, especially because I always watched him where he got to. I was like, most of the time I was in awe at his ability, but because of the crap he did, like that, the cheap ass shots, uh, the stupid penalties, costing them games. Like they had plenty of games that they could have won if it wasn't for him getting crazy penalties.
Oh yeah,
And while we're on him, really quick, one of my favorite plays ever by him though was he suffered a concussion after he hit Joe Flacco in the crotch for a sack. I'm dead serious.
He's a dumbass, dude. Like I just squandered that.
Yep, and we'll touch on that once we get to the AFC West.
Yeah, we'll go to you. Yeah. The defensive backs for the Lions, they have Justin Coleman, Darius Slay, Rashawn Melvin, and Tease Tabor are their top 4 corners. That Darius Slay is the top end corner. Justin Coleman is a very good corner. Who actually gets the nickel between Melvin and Tabor? I think it'll be Tabor. He played decent last year. He flashed. They also, a name that just pops out at me is Marcus Cooper. You guys have fun with that motherfucker. Don't let him pick off the ball and fumble it at the 1 because he decides he's going to walk into the goddamn end zone.
Who was that? Leon Lett?
No, Marcus Cooper did it last year for the fucking Bears, or 2 years. I can't remember if it was 2 years or last year.
No, I know. I'm saying like Leon Lett. You remember that from back in the night?
Twice, I think.
He did it twice.
No, he did it once, and then he kicked the blocked field goal.
Yeah, man, that was back in the mid '90s though. Like I was in kindergarten. But yeah, because I believe the one was in the Super Bowl, and the Cowboys could have scored the most points ever in a Super Bowl game, and then
it also makes me think of Deshaun Jackson doing his dive and setting the ball down on the 1. He did that in fucking high school at the Under Armour All-American game too. And then
you almost got to wonder if that one was intentional. Just saying. Sorry to cut you off.
I don't know. You never know with fucking Deshaun Jackson. Quandre Diggs and Tracy Walker are their safeties. They have a solid team. I'll give them that. Sam Martin's a good punter. They have Matt Prater as a kicker. Everyone knows what Prater can do. He did it in fucking Denver until he got busted for PEDs, which I still don't understand. More than likely, it was just some random shit that they decided wasn't like actually performance enhancing or whatever, like what we would think is a PED. But
right.
I'm gonna save this one. We're gonna go with the Vikings next. I'll end with the Packers because people are gonna be pissed. I like the Vikings. If they can stay healthy, Kirk Cousins needs to be more consistent. First off, if their offensive line can stay healthy, which it's going to be the same situation with the fucking Packers, because Kirk Cousins is a pocket quarterback. Rodgers can move. He's just getting a little older, so he's moving a little bit slower. And you could see that last year. But if Dalvin Cook can stay healthy for this Vikings team, I think that's a game changer. I think they contend with us immediately because Dalvin Cook is that good of a running back. They did bring in Alexander Mattison in the draft. He's, from the little bit of tape that I was able to watch on him, kid can go, dude. Obviously, we know the big 2 receivers. They have 2 of the best receivers in all the fucking league. Adam Thielen and Stephon Diggs.
Diggs. Dude, you know where Diggs went to school. You know where Stephon Diggs went to school, right?
I'm guessing Maryland since you're asking me.
That school that unfortunately had that tragedy where a player died because the coaches were a bunch of fucking idiots. Yeah, that one.
Oh, that's fine. Our coach gave strippers for high schoolers and escorts, so I'm a Louisville fan, by the way, guys.
At least he was looking out for the players, okay?
Yeah, they were hydrated still.
Oh man.
I was just looking at a story, and this is going to be the big one, is their slot receiver. Last year it was Laquan Treadwell,
Mm-hmm.
He's been a solid receiver, but he's been a disappointment for where he was drafted and what was expected out of him.
Agreed.
When he came out of Ole Miss. They brought in Chad Beebe, who his dad played for the Bills, and I know the Packers for sure. Little fucking speedy dude. And Chad Beebe, I think if he gets that slot, that will be very interesting. At least against the Lions. Against the Lions, I think he could tear up. Against the Packers, which I'll get into with their corner situation, but against the Packers and the Bears with their nickel corners, I think those would be great matchups. It would be super interesting to see. It's going to be interesting to see these guys go against everybody because nickel has become a starting position, and so has pretty much slot receiver.
Yeah. Because everybody runs a spread offense. Everybody runs. It may not be the exact air raid offense, but every team has a variation of it. I mean, you see teams coming out with the slot receivers, throwing the running back out in the slot with just a fullback in the backfield or a couple of running backs. So a slot position is very needed.
Okay, so I know you guys just saw me throw my head up. I know this is a football podcast, but the Cubs just placed Craig Kimbrell on the injured list.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so just real quick again, since we got off topic, just a quick little snippet. Did you see the thing about an NBA player that failed his drug test?
Was it Lamar Odom?
No. Okay, so an NBA player, I'm trying to remember the name. We were on the way back from the dog park earlier, and Emily showed it to me. NBA player used his girlfriend's urine for his urine test, and it came back pregnant. So, needless to say.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Are you sure it wasn't Adam Pac-Man Jones? Because I could see that.
Who was it? I got it right here. DJ Cooper.
Fucking idiots. Well, Congratulations on the kid, DJ Cooper.
Yeah. I'm sorry, he's not an NBA player. He's a professional basketball player. NBA was on my mind for other reasons, but yeah. So a professional basketball player he does like international teams. I think he's been on the D League and stuff like that. I think one of the article said NBA D League player, something like that. But yeah, so that's absolutely fucking phenomenal.
Congrats on the kid. Hope you.
Oh yeah, hope you knew.
Okay.
Anyway, all right, back to football. Back.
Yeah. Their offensive line: Riley Reif, Pat Elflin. He played pretty well. Garrett Bradbury. He is going to be a key piece at the center position. Josh Klein and Brian O'Neill. Obviously the left and right tackle are the most key parts in this division, especially. You got Khalil Mack. You got we'll get into the Packers. Zadarius Smith and Kyler Fackrell coming off the edge. You got Leonard Floyd for us. We just went over the Lions situation. Their whole defensive line, I think, is going to be key for that defense.
Mm-hmm.
This is the division where if one person goes down for any of these teams at the tackle position, that team's probably fucked. I'm worried about that with us. That's throughout the whole division, though. Like, if one tackle goes down, right or left, they're fucked because the pass rushers in the league are all outstanding now. But
that's where I kind of disagree with you there, mainly for the Bears. And as much as I like to give you shit about the Bears, and every Bears fan around here I know, just because it's fun, that's what we do. We give each other shit all the time. I feel like in the past few years, the Bears have improved their line enough, and they have enough athletic ability on their offensive line that they could survive. It may not be pretty, but I think they would be okay.
The swing tackle position for the Bears is either going to go to a guy they converted from defensive line
Hmm.
2 years ago. Last year was his first year ever playing offensive line, or a guy that's coming off an ACL tear that they got from the Vikings this year. So that's why I'm saying left or right tackle. If one of them go down, we do have who I think is probably the best offensive line coach in the NFL. Um, he could come up with something crazy. They could throw Cody Whitehair out there, fucking Kyle Long, who fucking knows. But
I could see him
really,
moving over.
they tried doing that with Kyle, and it didn't work out well.
What did they
Do
move him
Whitehair
to?
though. They moved him to right tackle. They actually tried him at both tackles. He started at right guard. They moved him to right tackle, moved him to left tackle in the offseason, played like shit, then moved him back to right guard.
See, I
But
mean,
Cody Whitehair, I think, would be the interesting one.
I agree, but I think if you give Long a little bit of time at right tackle, he could be serviceable.
Right tackle, I'd be okay.
Yeah.
I'd be okay with. And then with the Vikings, obviously their defense, they have Daniil Hunter, who I think is one of the best pass rushers in the entire NFL. I don't know how you feel about him. He was everywhere last year. Every time I watched Vikings, which my brother, for some reason, decided this is the only thing that he's the black sheep of. I'm the black sheep of my family, but he's a fucking Vikings fan. We're all Bears fans, except for him. So Vikings games were on if the Bears weren't playing at my dad's house and I was over there watching football. And every time I watched, Daniel Hunter was making a play all the time. Everson Griffin, extremely good pass rusher, kind of shaky on run defense. But then they got Linval Joseph in the middle, along with Shamar Stephen and Jaleel Johnson behind them. The linebacker position, Anthony Barr, who just got an extension, who's really, really, really fucking good. And I will always be surprised at that because coming out in the draft, I thought he was going to be a outside linebacker in a 3-4 defense. And he's just done fantastic as an outside linebacker in a 4-3. And that's been surprising to me his entire career. They have Eric Kendricks and Ben Gideon. Corner position, Xavier Rhodes. Obviously, he's a beast. He's probably one of the best corners, probably a top 10 corner at minimum in the league. Trey Waynes really solidified last year. I was really surprised to see that because he had a couple rough times. He would flash here and there, but he'd had some rough games. Last year, he was really solid. Anthony Harris is their strong safety, and obviously their mainstay at free safety is Harrison Smith, who is Harrison Smith. He'll late hit somebody, but he'll make 5 fucking insane plays before that. And they got Dan Bailey as a kicker, who he was solid for them last year. They picked him up.
I was about to say he's serviceable. He's been decent for quite a while.
Oh yeah, when he was down in Dallas and everything. Packer fans, be ready because you're gonna hate me. Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers. I don't know really what all we can say about him. He's slowed down a little bit. He can make the craziest fucking play ever, and it's crazy. I hate watching him because I hate the Packers, but I love it's. I have the same feeling with Aaron Rodgers as I did with Brett Favre growing up. Absolutely fucking hate him, but I'm absolutely in awe most of the time. Aaron Jones, the running back, is an absolute stud. They put him in when they actually started handing the fucking ball off for once last year. Aaron Jones was a beast. He's on my fantasy team too. I got him last year, and I was really excited about that. They sat him. Then they decided they were going to bring him in, and then he took off and just absolutely just wrecked. They do have Jamal Williams behind him. They did bring in Corey Grant also, who I think is an interesting acquisition. He was in Jacksonville last year. He's more of the scat back, the third down running back, where he's a lot quicker, more receiving back. That could be an interesting with that offense, the way they always like to run or pass, I guess, more so. It'll be interesting to see. I know they did bring in a new head coach, so that will be interesting. Devontae Adams. I remember when the year that Devontae Adams got drafted, the Bears had looked at him, and they thought about it, and they didn't go with him. And I was upset. I liked Devontae Adams a lot. And then he was behind Randall Cobb and Jordy Nelson and everybody else. Finally got his time to shine a couple of years ago. Never looked back. Marquez Valdez-Scantling last year fucking showed up as a rookie. I was really high last year on Jamon Moore. That bit me in the ass. He has the ability like crazy. Like that kid out of Mizzou can just play football. I think a lot of that had to do with playbook issues. Quinemius St. Brown and Geronimo Allison also with the wide receivers. They have brought back Jimmy Graham, or they still have Jimmy Graham. They have a Robert Tonyan, who I have really not heard of. They have Mercedes Lewis as a backup. This is the only key for this team. David Bakhtiari has to stay healthy. Lane Taylor has to stay healthy. Corey Linsley not only has to stay healthy, but he actually has to play good fucking football because he would go up and down at that center position. He'll be getting fucking bull rushed right back into Aaron Rodgers for 4 fucking straight plays, and their whole team revolves around Aaron Rodgers. If Aaron Rodgers gets hurt again, you guys can say bye-bye. You guys fucking got Deshaun Kaiser, Tim Boyle, and Manny Wilkins behind you. Billy Turner, I think, is a good right guard. They got him from Dallas. And they have Brian Bulaga, which, you want to know something cool about Brian Bulaga? Played at Iowa as a freshman. Started at right tackle as a freshman at Iowa. My high school that I went to, my junior year of football, or my junior year of high school, our football team, I was actually out with the torn ACL. We actually went to quarterfinals or semifinals for state football playoffs, and we played the Woodstock Marion team that had Brian Bulaga on their team. Dude was a fucking monster his senior year of high school. Holy shit. Defensively, Dean Lowry, Kenny Clark is a beast. Montravius Adams are their defensive line. They have Oren Burks, Blake Martinez, who I feel is the most underrated middle linebacker in the NFL. I don't know if it's just because Green Bay isn't the huge market. Isn't a huge market or what, but every play that guy is going just balls to the wall, always playing, always around the ball. I absolutely love watching him play. Ty Summers is their other inside linebacker, or Oren Burks is the other inside linebacker. And then they brought in Zadarius Smith and Preston Smith. So we got asked in the comment section about what we thought about Zadarius Smith, particularly you, because you were able to watch him a lot more, being a Ravens fan. I think he's a solid outside linebacker. I think he'll make his plays. He'll get his 8 to 10 sacks, and that's about it. And then they brought in Preston Smith. I'll let you talk about Zadarius here in a second.
Mm-hmm.
I like Preston Smith a lot. I feel like he's solid. He'll get his probably about 7, 8, 9 sacks, but that's it. Kyler Fackrell is your best pass rushing outside linebacker on this fucking team. And if he doesn't get in on third downs, I'd be fucking firing that goddamn coach in a heartbeat, because Kyler Fackrell made play after fucking play last year for the Packers. As much as I hate to fucking say it, obviously I hate the Packers. That's why I'm dropping the F word every other word now. That guy's just outstanding. I hate the Packers. I love football. And I loved watching Kyler Fackrell play football. And he was just, the moves he was making, always fighting the tackles, getting in there every time. He's a very, very good outside linebacker. That's why I was surprised that they brought in 2 outside linebackers. I figured they'd give Kyler one of the spots after the year last year. But let's hear what you got to say about Za'Darius.
Okay, so Za'Darius Smith. I was really looking forward to Baltimore having him after Suggs left. After Suggs got released or didn't re-sign, whatever, and went to Arizona. Za'Darius Smith last year had 8.5 sacks. He played something like 2/3 of the defensive snaps. So that's not a bad snap count, but getting 8.5 sacks isn't a bad number when you're playing 66% of the snaps. When you're not an absolute every single down player on the defense as a pass rusher. My biggest takeaways from him is seeing him chase down speedy players, speedy running backs, speedy wide receivers and quarterbacks from behind in the open field. His speed and his ability is highly underrated. He's one of those guys that he doesn't make the flashy plays. He's just kind of there. And unless you're actually watching him or he does something that really kind of breaks your heart against you, you're not going to know much about him. I could see him this year, if he plays every down, I could see him breaking that 10-sack spot, getting 10.5, maybe 11. Not many more than that, I don't think, but who the hell knows?
Yeah.
If he does, I think it'll be a benefit from, as you were saying earlier, potential injuries in the NFC North, getting to Kirk Cousins, getting to Matthew Stafford. Trubisky is going to be the hardest one because he's the most elusive out of them. He has the best mobility out of them, and elusive is not really the best one.
He's sneakily athletic.
Right.
You don't
and
look at him and you see, like, okay, he's kind of athletic and he looks athletic, but dude's got speed. But yeah, I agree with you on the.
He absolutely does. So that's my main thing about those guys. But it's already been said that he's beat Bakhtiari multiple times in camp right now. Like running practices, he's absolutely beat him down multiple times. Not every time, not every single play, but Bakhtiari was a Pro Bowl.
Pro Bowler.
Yeah, he was a Pro Bowler. So was Za'Darius Smith beating him multiple times? The coaches are high on him. The defenders are high on him. His offensive line is high on him after seeing him beat them numerous times. So I think they got a great addition there, and I think he's going to show what his potential is. He really needs to be a guy that plays every down to really get the full value out of him. His $66 million, I think it was, with like 37, like off the bat.
His contract was. I like I said, I think he's a solid player. I think he makes the plays he needs to make. I feel like they thought they were getting, not like Khalil Mack or anything.
Right.
But I feel like people are like, oh, we just got one of the best outside linebackers in the game. I think he's a top end. I don't think he's one of the best. The Bakhtiari thing makes me really happy because he isn't fucking Khalil Mack, and Aaron Rodgers better run for his life. This is where I absolutely love the Packers team, and it's in the defensive backs. So I grew up as a defensive back. I was a safety, and I've always been drawn to watching DBs play. They got Kevin King from Washington a couple years ago. They brought Josh Jackson in from Iowa, and Jair Alexander, who is not going to be the last Louisville player that we talk about. But Jair just came in last year as a rookie and just fucking tore shit up. He can run. I thought he was you remember, I was saying Jair Alexander is the best corner in last year's draft because of his speed and toughness. And he came in for Green Bay, started day one. Those three, along with the ageless wonder veteran Tramon Williams, they have 4 very, very, very good corners. That has been what scared me about this team for a while after they started stockpiling corners. They brought in Adrian Amos, and they actually talked about this on the radio. I can't remember if it was yesterday or this morning because it's been a long day. This morning for me is like 4:50, by the way. It's Bears fans keep saying to Packer fans, well, you got Amos. He's the guy. And then Packers fans say to Bears fans about haha Clinton Dix. Well, if you can get him to actually play, you guys got a player. Amos is more than just a guy. He came when he actually got competition. He stepped up and became. He's not just a guy. I wouldn't say top end, but an above average strong safety. I will say that. He can hit. He makes most of his plays. He's not going to be the ball hawk safety that you would think. I feel like that's more free safety anyway. But he will come up. He makes his hits. He makes tackles. He's pretty good in coverage. He's an above average safety. Darnell Savage, I don't know a ton about him, but if he can be a ball hawk behind, because you guys got good linebacking core, good corners, just have the fucking free safety play center field like a certain number 20 used to do out in Baltimore. Just, hey, yeah, go play 30 yards deep, dude.
It'll never be the same, though.
No one will ever be Ed Reed. Just say it. No. I hate to say this because it's you, but Ed Reed is the greatest safety of all time.
Oh, without
Not
a doubt.
my favorite, but greatest. J.K. Scott is their punter, and obviously they have Mason Crosby after that one terrible year that he had like 4 years ago has been absolutely a stud again. I still have no idea what the fuck happened that year. So, I don't have exact records yet. I haven't come up with that. But I do have a prediction for how this lines up this season for the division.
With giving out how you feel it lines up, do you have an idea on what you think for the division splits? Like who wins the most out of the division? Like, you know, who you get what I'm saying?
I didn't beforehand. I didn't have them beforehand, but I can come up with that pretty quick. So this is why the Packer fans are going to hate me. I don't think that offensive line is good enough to keep Rodgers healthy. And this is why it's a prediction. I went over all the roster, gave what I thought, barring injury. This is a predicting an injury. I'm going to predict Rodgers gets hurt. Even if it doesn't keep him out of the game, it's going to be like last season where he's not the same. So, obviously, Bears are number one. I was listening to the radio, and they actually mentioned, is this optimism warranted? Do you think it is, Pat? Do you think the optimism the Bears have is warranted?
I think it is very much so warranted. But after you go through, I'll kind of give you my ideas on where I think everything's going to fall into place and what I think it'll take for that.
Okay. I obviously it takes Trubisky taking that next step. I think that will happen. I feel Nagy is a very good coach. We had a quarterback whisperer, but that blew up in our face, and then you guys took him as an offensive coordinator, Trustman. But I feel like Trubisky takes the next step. I feel the offense has ridiculous amount of weapons. for Nagy to be extremely creative with. I feel like I know we lost Vic Fangio, and I absolutely love Vic. I'm so happy for him to be able to get a head coaching spot finally because he fucking deserved it. But I love Pagano. I love that that's who they went with to bring in to replace Fangio. Pagano got the shit end of the stick in Indy as a head coach. What the fuck did you want him to do when Luck went down? You guys didn't draft anybody else. Like, they had no defense except for Pagano actually making guys play above their level. Their starting middle linebacker for a minute was actually starting in Pittsburgh was John Bostic. And we kicked his ass out of Chicago because he was so bad. And I feel like he got the shit end of the stick. Obviously, he's a great defensive mind. He was a great defensive mind for you guys. I really like the Pagano pickup. So I feel like the Bears, the defense doesn't. It might not be number one this year. There's going to be a couple guys that play better. Roquan is going to play better. I feel like Buster Skrine is an upgrade to Bryce Callahan, as weird as that sounds, because I feel like Bryce was probably the best nickel last year until he got hurt. I don't see us staying injury-free, though, this year, so I don't see us winning as many games as we did last year. I will say that. I won't go over record yet. Then I have the Vikings. I feel like the Vikings stay a little bit healthier. I feel like Kirk Cousins in his second year with this offense and more familiarity with Thielen and Diggs and Rudolph, and that defense just being very, very solid. I feel like the Vikings do stay in that second place position. The more I kept going over rosters and seeing and hearing stuff out of training camps, the less I like the Packers. And that is, you can call it biased. I don't give a shit. Put it in the comment section. Tell me I'm a fucking idiot. This new head coach is already butting heads with Aaron Rodgers. There's drama already in training camp. They're not doing too hot there. I feel like the more I look at the rosters, I think the Lions are number 3, and I think the Packers come in 4th. And that's a bold prediction, and it probably will bite me in the ass. I don't feel like Rodgers stays healthy, like I said at the beginning of the prediction. I like what the Lions have done to improve. The more I looked at the roster. Do I trust Matt Patricia? Defensively, yes. I trust Jim Bob Cooter on the offensive side, and they still have a top-end quarterback. So I will say that. I'm picking the Lions to end above the Packers in the divisional ranks, or in just record-wise. And you asked about records. I think the Bears split with the Vikings, sweep the Lions and Packers. So that means the Vikings split with the Bears. I feel like they 1-1 with the Lions and probably 1-1 with the Packers. Then I feel like the Lions 1-1 with the Vikings, get swept by the Bears, and 1-1 with the Packers. So I think the Packers then 1-1 with everybody except getting swept by the Bears, and that's how that lines up for me. And I tried to speak as positive as I could about the Packers, which is hard for me. I feel like you guys have a lot of good things going for you. I feel like that, like I said, the defensive backs, you guys got some great fucking receivers. That offensive line, I don't think will keep Rodgers healthy. And behind Rodgers, you don't have anything. And that's the only prediction of an injury that I have made. You guys could fucking put in the comment section, well, if Khalil Mack gets injured, you guys are fucked too. Yes, we are. We're not fucked. We have good players. Mack got hurt last year, and we still won 12 games. I feel like Rodgers is more important to the Packers, is the most important player to any team in the NFL. I don't think you guys go anywhere without Rodgers. So I'm sorry if you don't like my prediction. You guys can put your predictions in the comment section on YouTube. All right, let's go over the AFC North because I've already fucking rambled forever.
Yeah, what time do we got on the recording here? Because I'm gonna have to go quick because this has been.
We got an hour and 5 minutes, dude. Yeah, I fucking rambled for a minute and.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go over mine quick because I am on a time frame here. So I'm not gonna go as deep in depth as Austin here did with everything, which yeah. So real quick, my thoughts on the NFC North. Okay. Is I do think the Bears should win the division, provided their passing game steps up. They were ranked, or not just their passing game, but their offense. They were ranked 21st in the league in offense overall last year for passing or for overall yards and everything. With the additions to the division and how the division has improved defensively, they're going to have to be able to step up their offense. That's my opinion. That's the way I feel. Especially when it comes to playing against like the Vikings and the Packers, quite honestly. I think more so than against the Lions, personally, because I think the Bears' defense can handle the Lions enough. The Vikings, I think, will take second place, if not beat out the Bears for first. And that there, I think the Bears have the edge on their defense overall. The Bears finished like number 3, I think, in the NFL in total overall defense last year, and trying to see what it was that the Vikings just finished because I'm blanking. They finished 4th. Okay. The Vikings finished 4th on defense. So there, I really do feel like they're it's gonna be a toss up and much more difficult than a lot of people seem to believe.
Real quick, because you did mention it. Jogged my brain real quick. The Bears and the Vikings will both make the playoffs.
I agree.
Because you mentioned that about the Vikings possibly beating the Bears out. Both of them, I think, make the playoffs this year. I think one will be a wild card, obviously, and one will win the division.
I agree.
All right, let's get into your AFC North breakdown.
Yeah, quick breakdown. Quick. So I'm going to go based on who I feel is actually going to win the North, and this is going to actually shock quite a few people, I think. Maybe not.
Wait, can I go get my jersey?
No. But coming from a Ravens fan, so they are the most up-and-coming team. You're really going to go in the middle of the recording? God. Anyway, so the Cleveland Browns, I actually think, have all the ability to take the AFC North for numerous reasons. Baker Mayfield last year played in 14 games and threw for over 3,700 yards and 27 touchdowns. Now, his athletic ability tied with everything that he's surrounded by, I believe they should absolutely be able to win the division. They've added Odell Beckham Jr. They've added some quality guys to their defense. Again, I'm not going to go through and thoroughly break it all down. But yeah, I definitely think that they should be able to win the division, as much as it pains me to say. Yeah.
So I lived in Ohio when the Browns came back, and I was a Browns fan at that time because I was like fucking 6. But this is a double whammy for you because look who's on the back.
Yeah, I know. I know. Yeah, so real quick to wrap it up with the Browns before I move on to the second place team. Baker Mayfield threw for 63.8% completion, which is phenomenal, especially for a rookie. Really anything now that's getting in the 58 to 60% is pretty damn successful in the NFL with how much teams are passing. To go with the fact that he was a rookie and he came in late, the 3,700 yards passing, the 27 touchdowns, he can work on his turnovers. But he's that guy, he's that guy that he's going to take some risks. He's going to break your heart on a few plays. But, man, when he gets hot and he lights up, it's going to be hard as hell to defend. And that really does terrify me as a Baltimore fan. But Baltimore had the number one defense last year. And they had, let's see, what was their overall pass defense rank?
Real quick, while you look that up, I will point out with the Browns that Greedy Williams, their first-round rookie corner out of LSU, is supposedly looking phenomenal, already pushing Terrence Mitchell for that opposite, that cornerback spot opposite Denzel Ward, which is they're going to be fast as fuck on the outside if those two are out there.
Yeah, and that was going to be my next point too, really quick. Their speed, like I had mentioned to you off recording, and that's another thing, and that's why I feel like the Steelers are going to finish where they do, even though the Steelers added some fresh talent. The Browns' speed is going to be crazy when you got Nick Chubb and Duke in the backfield.
If Duke is still there, but
yeah,
saying that it doesn't look like he'll be good.
I think he might be for a bit. I don't know. It's going to be hard to say, but yeah, again, man, that speed, it's going to be scary. And then with Odell and his athletic ability and his playmaking ability, with the way Baker Mayfield can sling the rock, it's going to be a pain in the ass to defend. And if they don't win a division, if they don't finish at worst 10-6, I think it's a letdown of a season. I think high end they could finish 12-4. Low end 9-7, and if some things go wrong, but I do believe they have the ability to take the division from Baltimore, and I have Baltimore finishing second place in the division. And my reasoning for that, I know, that's fine. My reasoning for that is they got younger on defense. We added Earl Thomas to the secondary, and
that's not getting younger.
I know. I'm just saying.
Actually, he might be younger than Little.
Our overall, pass rush and everything got much younger on the defense. We lost Terrell Suggs, who went to Arizona to finish out his playing time back home, which Suggs can't be replaced, but he was starting to fade down the stretch last year. You could tell that his age was really catching up with him. He was not the same player, and that's fine. I think he's calling it quits at a better time than what Ray Lewis did. I love Ray Lewis. In my mind, forever the greatest middle linebacker of all time. The only linebacker with 40
to murder somebody and
40 sacks. There was no proof. He pled guilty to the obstruction of justice and everything, but
he is not Dick Butkus.
I don't care. He is the only linebacker with 40 sacks and 30 interceptions or 30 interceptions.
He didn't play without knees. Dick Butkus didn't have knees in pretty much his entire fucking career because they didn't have the medical stuff for him, and he still was the greatest. This is coming from a Bears fan that only got to grew up watching Brian Urlacher. I'm still saying Butkus is the best middle linebacker of all time. Then Ray Lewis, then Brian Urlacher. Happy?
That's fine. That's perfectly fine. But again, so Suggs is gone. He'll be finishing out. He'll play this year, maybe one more year, I think, in Arizona. But we got some young guys that are going to be stepping up. I was really hoping that Zadarius Smith was going to be one that was there to fill in. And then C.J. Mosley leaving, but we got Patrick Onwuasor, who is taking over for the middle linebacker, and I think he is severely underrated. He's not C.J. Mosley, but
he could
Mosley started to kind of disappoint me last year a bit. Again, I went back and I started watching some things with NFL Game Pass, and I gotta say I'm very disappointed with how he played down towards the end. I feel like he missed a lot of easy tackles. I feel like he definitely didn't live up to his own name. So and the money that he wanted last year started to get a little bit crazy, and I'm fine with the fact that the Jets decided to pay him that money instead of Baltimore. I am perfectly fine with that.
DBs.
Yeah, I think we have some of the most depth and corners and defensive backs in the league. I absolutely do. I'll take what? Go ahead.
I've been waiting for this. I haven't fucking messaged you about it at all. What do you think about Cyrus Jones and Marlon Humphrey both getting kicked out of practice?
Yeah, I know. I saw that. It's fine.
I've been fucking waiting for fucking 3 days to ask you this, dude.
It's fine. It is what it is. It happens, man. It's Baltimore. Like every year. All right, they don't always talk about it because it's not always somebody like Marlon Humphrey. But every year in Baltimore, there are scuffles, there's fights, and they love it. They crack down on it because they don't want things to get too out of hand. But the coaches, everybody there, the other players will tell you that this is what they love. They absolutely love the intensity, the attitude, the emotions, and everything else behind it.
They didn't get kicked out for fighting. They got kicked out for for talking back to Harbaugh.
Oh yeah, that's right.
The one dude.
Who was it?
Cut.
Yeah, the receiver. Yeah,
Lindsay got cut for fighting and then chucking the ball in the pond or the lake or whatever you want to call it. But these two got booted from practice for being smartasses, basically.
Yeah.
Which
I was getting them mixed up.
Cyrus, I don't really know. I don't remember when he's not too old. He's
not.
Us. Marlon's only in his. Last year was his first full year. It was not his rookie.
No. Yeah, I believe he got hurt his rookie year.
That's what I thought. So Marlon's still young. These are young guys still. I'm 29. You're 29 for another month. We're both smartasses, so I kind of understand it. But
yeah,
you gotta, when you're at work, you kind of gotta hold back when you're talking to your boss.
Yeah, you do. I mean, I've never had a good reputation with that myself, and I have people that could attest to that.
But I wanted to ask you that so bad, dude.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's going to be anything. It happens, and again, the same thing happens every year. Guys go rounds with Harbs. It happens all the time because Harbs is a hard ass in practice and in training camp. But it honestly has been paying off. But that's one of the reasons why Ed Reed left when he did, because there was issues with the players in Harbaugh because he's not that, let me hold your hand and, skip through the daisies and everything, tra-la-la, everything's going to be fine and dandy. No, if you fuck up, I'm going to call you out on it, and I'm going to make you pay for it.
If somebody can draw Jim Harbaugh and Ed Reed skipping through daisies for me, I would absolutely love you. Jim.
For fuck's sakes, man.
John.
Yeah. God. Anyway, so
real quick, just being a DB fan, I feel like Marlon Humphrey is the top corner. After this season, he's the top corner in the defense in the NFL. I just wanted to say that.
And I think he could be, and I think Jimmy Smith could definitely be in the top 5 to 8 if he can stay healthy. He's got the talent. He needs to be able to stay healthy. And that's been his problem recently. And then we've got some other young guys, but I'm going to move on here because, again, I'm running low on time. Lamar Jackson is looking phenomenal in camp. He's made some great plays. He's got to work on his spiral. His passes are getting a little wobbly as he goes down the field. It's going to be some easy pickings periodically. But his arm strength, throwing slants, throwing crossing routes, and everything else has been great this camp. And his running ability is always going to be something that you got to fight with and keep an eye on. And then, of course, adding the running back that we did, our offense is going to definitely improve. We actually had a top 10 offense last year overall.
Because your rushing was like number 1 by a mile.
Actually, our rushing offense was second in the league.
Really?
Yeah, the Seahawks last year had the top ranked rushing offense.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So, yeah, I know.
You would have been number 1 if Lamar was starting day 1.
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt, we would have been number 1 rushing offense, and I'm fine with that. I am absolutely fine with that. I mean, Lamar Jackson is a goddamn cheat code out on the field, so
Do you mind if I say something about Lamar real quick?
Oh, go for it.
You're running low on time. We talked about it when he got drafted. I knew we had Mitchell Trubisky, so I was really excited for him to go to a team that I could kind of root for, because of you. But I've always been a huge fan of Lamar. I was always worried about his arm and his accuracy. He's got the deep and he's got short accuracy. His mechanics aren't always perfect, which he needs to be a good quarterback with his ability. It's his mid-range that I've always been worried about. If they can get that just tuned in a little bit to where he can kind of hit the mid-range, but then just fucking chuck the long ball, because his long ball is outstanding.
It is.
This guy's got speed at the receiver position now. I'm really excited, and I hope he gets to actually show off his arm a little bit this year.
Yeah, his throwing motion on his mid-range throws are what throw me off a bit, because I feel like it's quite a bit different from everything else. So I think once he gets that narrowed down and once he continues to work on that, he'll be okay. Oh, yeah. Okay, so third place in the AFC North, I think, is going to be the Pittsburgh Steelers. Okay, and the reason that I feel like they're going to finish third is because of their speed on defense. I don't think they're going to be able to keep up with what the Browns and the Ravens have offensively. That, along with, I know they still got Juju Smith-Schuster, and Connor played absolutely fantastic last year. He ran the ball out of his mind. I don't really think that they're going to be able to continue the way that they have on offense. Ben, you've been able to see things changing with him as time goes on. I don't think they're going to continue being that offensive power that they have in recent years. They're going to have somebody else that steps up in Brown's departure for receiving the ball, because especially with the Ravens secondary, they're going to be keying in on Juju Smith-Schuster. I think Marlon Humphrey will be the guy that sticks on Juju Smith-Schuster no matter where he goes. And I think Earl Thomas will be following close. Not like right up on him, but I think he'll be following close by.
I hope we can watch that game together, because I just want to watch that battle, dude.
It's going to be fantastic. It'll absolutely be amazing, and I cannot wait for it. And then, like, the Steelers definitely added some good talent, but nobody that really blew me away. I expected them to go after some higher caliber players, some bigger name guys, but I'm a little bit disappointed in their offseason. You know, I hate the Steelers with a burning passion. You know, hearing the Steelers get a win, it burns worse than a urinary tract infection to me.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Anyway.
I feel like you're right. I feel like their biggest acquisition was Dante Moncrief.
Yeah, exactly. And what has he really done in recent? Like,
I don't think they're number 2 on the team. I feel like James Washington is better than him.
I think Moncrief will be that slot guy.
I think Eli Rogers or Ryan Switzer will play slot over Moncrief.
I think he'll end up edging out on that. They might rotate him out.
Yeah.
You know, I could definitely see that, but I just he's not gonna be a number 2. He's not gonna be that guy to really kind of fill the void by any means. So I think Ben has one of his lowest passing years that he's had in quite a while.
I know I projected one injury. I'm projecting a second, and I think Mason Rudolph ends up being the starting quarterback for the Steelers this year.
Yeah, I could probably see maybe. Honestly, I'm staying around maybe week 9 or 10, something happening.
They're already saying Rudolph is outplaying Dobbs right now, and Dobbs might be a trade piece later in the preseason. But
yeah, so yeah, I feel the same, and that's why I have the Steelers finishing. But even if Ben gets hurt and they have just about damn near anybody else come in to be a starting quarterback right now, I feel like David Garrard could come in and fill the void.
Hey, he made the Pro Bowl once or twice, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. I'm just saying, he hasn't played. I'm just saying he hasn't played, but I feel like he could come in and still manage to finish third because of the way the Bengals are. So
don't sleep on them with their new coach. They brought in the OC from LA.
I don't care. I don't care.
I'm just saying. I'm not going to sleep on their offense.
I don't care.
Their defense is going to be garbage.
I don't care.
Damn it.
The Bengals are still the Bengals, the Bungles. But yeah, so the Steelers, I definitely think are going to finish third. No. So yeah. And then to cut it quick, because like I said, I am running a long time. So I might try to come back and release a solo video or something at some point where I kind of break down a little bit, go through the rosters. It's all good. I think the Bengals. I was giving it to the Browns because I'm so used to saying Browns coming in fourth.
It sounded like you were going to say Bungles again.
So yeah, the Bengals I think are going to finish in fourth. They had one of the absolute worst overall teams I've seen in a long time. Even though they beat us, like they won some games that they definitely should not have won. Like they won by the skin off their ass numerous times. You know, man, it. Still, that second week, man, when I was in the training academy last year watching that game, it got me so pissed off. It was unbelievable. But let's see. Let's look at the Bengals offense last year. 26th ranked offense, I believe. Hang on. Do I? Yeah, I still have it on total offense. 26th ranked offense last year. And no, hang on. What the hell? Okay. My bad. My rankings are refreshing and they're really screwing me up. They had the 7th ranked offense last year. I don't know what the hell's going on with my phone right now. I apologize for that. The 7th ranked offense last year. But AJ Green's already gotten hurt this offseason.
Which I feel like that's a yearly thing anymore.
It is, but I don't know, man. I feel like the age is starting to get there with some of the guys that they got on offense.
It happened early this year.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Joe Mixon's still a stud, dude. I like him still.
Right. But like, all right, they only average 205 passing yards per game and 105 rushing yards per game. So
quarterback is trash.
Yeah, he really is. I mean,
not trash. I won't say trash.
Someone's being really, 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 really fucky.
Well, I'm gonna
refresh this real quick.
You go ahead. I don't have stats up. I do have the roster going up. Obviously, they have Tyler Boyd, who decided to play out of his mind last year, and that helped me out in fantasy. John Ross for speed. That's the one thing. Once AJ comes back, I want to see you guys, because I don't know how your slot corner, your nickel corner is going to go against John Ross, because the speed he has is elite, is top of the NFL league.
It is, but he's still underwhelming.
Oh yeah, I completely agree with that. He did start to make a couple plays here and there last year, so I'm hoping that evolves a little bit. I am interested to see what they do with the new coach, because Marvin needed to go fucking 5-6 years.
Yeah, that is the one thing I can see that might help them. All right, so now finally this is fixed. I had to back out of the actual link and go back into it from ESPN.com. Since my phone decided to be screwy, I realized that something was messed up when I actually read their numbers off on what they averaged per game last year. And then when I looked up the number one and saw that it said that Arizona was the number one offense in the league, something happened and it had them in reverse order for some reason. Yeah. So something happened, so I backed out and I refreshed it. And yes, the Bengals were indeed 26th ranked offense. So they're not. I don't see them getting much better than that this year. And then their defense was 32nd.
Okay.
26th offense, 32nd defense, and they lost Vontaze Burfict.
They brought in Preston Brown though, and that's the only addition on their defense that I'm actually feel like they upgraded. I feel like they upgraded for Vontaze, bringing in Preston Brown from Buffalo, who's also a Louisville alum. But you brought in one fucking guy.
Yeah.
What the?
And that's exactly my point when I said, like, when I told you before that they are the new Browns.
Like.
No, like.
I lived right outside of Cincinnati when I lived in Ohio, and when I was really young. And I got to watch Corey Dillon and Takeo Spikes and Achilles Smith. So they weren't great, but I feel like that's still better than this team they have right now. They do have Geno Atkins. Carlos Dunlap. They've been mainstays in Cincinnati for a while now. They're getting a little older, but they're still really good players. Nick Vigil made a play here and there last year throughout each game, but I don't feel like they upgraded enough.
Right.
At all.
No, me neither. And that's why I say I think that they definitely will take the 4th spot. I think they're the only team that the Steelers sweep in the division. Now here goes my division wins losses. That's kind of is going to piss me off because I know it's going to happen. But I think the Browns are going to manage to go 4-2 in the division. I think they're going to beat the Ravens once. I think they're going to beat the Steelers once, and they're going to sweep the Bengals. Okay. I think the Ravens are going to go 3-3. I think they split with everybody.
Yep. Go ahead.
And yes, I do believe they will split with the Bengals, and I feel like they lose to the Bengals in Baltimore because they have that kind of mentality, it seems, to where they play the Bengals so far below where they should that it's not even funny. It's like they play down to the Bengals every year. They lose to them when they absolutely should beat them. And I think that this way is really what could end up getting the Steelers to surpass Baltimore. But I feel like the Steelers also sweep the Bengals. They beat Baltimore once, and they beat Cleveland once to fall in to that 4-2 stage as well.
All right. You and I have had a few conversations about this. And I feel like the Steelers and Ravens tie for second. And I feel like the Steelers get the tiebreaker for beating the Bengals twice, pretty much. I think that's about it. I still feel like the Browns, the Steelers, and the Ravens are the 3 teams. One gets divisional and they get the 2 wild card spots. I feel like that division, other than the Bengals, those 3 teams are still really, really, really fucking good. So I'm. This is going to be fun for both of us. I feel like these are the 2 best divisions in their respective conferences this year.
I definitely agree.
Most competitive. Maybe not best, but most competitive at least. They both have one team that could be bottom of the barrel, but I feel like the other 3, there's 3 teams in each division that could be competitive. And I know I said the Packers are going to finish 4th, but they still could be competitive if Rodgers doesn't get hurt.
Right.
So, do you have anything else you want to add?
No, that's going to pretty much do it for me.
Alrighty. So next week we are going to go over the AFC and NFC South. So definitely be on the lookout for that. We'll get our reactions to their off seasons and what we're thinking with them. I won't go as in depth because this ran way too fucking long. Real quick, also, I know we mentioned our Twitch names on here. Once we both hit affiliate, I need to get, I think, 23 more followers. I don't know what you need for affiliate.
I just got to finish up my constant viewers, my streaming days and hours, and then I'll be there.
So after we both hit affiliate, we both eat a ghost pepper and film it and put it on Middle of Nowhere Entertainment's face or YouTube and Facebook.
It's going to be miserable.
Oh,
check it out.
I can't fucking. I'm gonna be pissed, dude. So again, I'm gonna post that GoFundMe I talked about earlier for for our friends, Cat. Which pets are family, guys. Come on, if you guys can help them out, definitely do it. I'm gonna post that in the link below. Thank everybody for coming out. We will see you guys. Well, it's not even gonna be next week. It's gonna be Friday because we're late on this episode. So. Thanks, everybody, for stopping out.
Deuces.
Bye.